My name is Tim Murphey, and I come from Japan. I live in Japan. I teach in Japan normally, and I did my PhD actually in Switzerland. And I'm really happy to be back here in Hawaii. I come back every few years and teach at HPU, sometimes some M8 courses, and I get the opportunity to come to the National Foreign Language Resource Center and give presentations. And it's really wonderful. I'm a great fan of Dick Schmidt and all the SLA crowd here at UH. I'm also a fan of the psychology department here at UH. Peter Dowrick does some amazing things with creating futures. You should look up his stuff. And Elaine Hatfield on emotional contagion and how emotions are contagious. It's amazing work, and it's very relevant to language teaching and learning. My presentation today, come on in, Yuki. We have a seat up here just for you. Relax. This is the last seat. Relax. Okay. My presentation today is on hope and inging. The non-native speakers in the group, relax. Inging is not a word you'll find in the dictionary. It's a made-up word, and it's supposed to bring forth the idea of process, of doing something, of making it into a movement and giving impetus, okay? And you'll understand it more and more as we go along, I think, okay? I'm going to be doing things very interactively with you. I'm not a lecturer normally. I don't really lecture that much. I get people to interact because I feel like you learn more through actually experiential learning. And so I try to get you to do things. Sometimes I'll ask you to do strange things. I hope you'll play along with it, okay? And later you'll understand why you did them, perhaps. Okay? So, yes, so first off, what I would like you to do is, does everybody have a pencil and something to write on? Because I'm going to give you a speed dictation. Speed dictation, I'm going to say something very fast. You write as much as you can of it, but relax because it's a collaborative speed dictation. You get to cheat. So you can ask your partners the words, okay? So, are you ready? Okay, here it goes. You ready? Asking is a moment's embarrassment. Not asking is a lifelong regret. Okay, cheat, help your partners, please collaborate a little bit. Make sure you got it right, no problem. Okay, part of when I change activities in this class, I'm going to be asking you several times to be asking your partner, what is asking? And you're going to turn to your partner and you're going to ask, what is asking? And they have to say, oh, asking is a moment's embarrassment. And not asking is a lifelong regret. Okay? And you're going to be doing that maybe 5 or 6 times during this presentation. Notice what happens in your brain right now. If you know you're going to do it 5 or 6 times, that's called intent participation. With many things that students learn in classrooms, they don't have the intent to actually use them. It's something I write down, but I classify away. But if you can get people to use something right away, every 5 minutes, it's intent participation, and you're going to use it. So right now, turn to your partners and ask, what is asking? What is asking? What is asking, Leslie? And not asking? The psychological literature on hope, there's lots and lots of definitions of hope and lots of ways to cut it up and to define it, and describe it. The one that I'm going to use is Schneider et al., and the reference is on your paper. You don't have to look at it now. But basically what they do is they talk about hope being two things: pathways thinking and agency thinking. Pathways thinking is having different ways to solve your problems or concerns, okay? Agency thinking is having the confidence to actually take one of those pathways. Example, okay? If I'm broke and I don't have enough money and I ask somebody, please tell me, how can I earn some more money? And they say, oh, Ichiro in Seattle, he plays baseball, professional baseball, he makes lots of money. That's a pathway, but I don't have the confidence to become a professional baseball player. So I don't have the agency thinking, okay? But if it's another teacher who tells me, oh, there's part-time jobs here in this school and that school and that school, I'm a teacher, oh, this is one of my peers who's giving me this advice, I could go and apply for jobs, okay? So usually your pathways come from people like you, your near-peer role models, people in your group, okay? And that's also what we call social capital. Bourdieu calls it social capital. Bourdieu originally was talking about the French elite, okay? And it was a criticism of French society because the rich got to go to the best schools and they made this social capital at the high levels of society, and it was hard to break through. But nowadays, we can break through and we can have social capital at all levels of society and learn and grow and expand. So you might be thinking right now of your own social capital. What are your social networks, okay, for solving your concerns and your problems, okay? What I'd like for you to do in a moment is to think about a future task. Okay, this is your next activity. You're going to think about something you have to do in the future. And, do I have many pathways to solve this concern or this problem or whatever it is? And do I have the confidence to take some of those pathways? What kind of social capital do I have? Do I have a network of people that I could actually go to do these things? Okay? Example. I've been invited to be a plenary speaker at Ko-Tisaw in Korea. I have to go and give a presentation in October. And I don't know Korea very well. And I need to think about, who are the people that I know who can tell me about the Korean system, who can clue me in a little bit about what I should say and how I should act and things like that. And give me a few nice little short words, okay, that I could actually pepper my presentation with, okay? And I feel like I have agency thinking, I have confidence to present there, but I still need more pathways and more social capital. I need to feel more confident about myself in that environment. Okay? Could you turn to your partner and ask your partner, what future task do you have in your mind right now, concern, and do you have social capital? Do you have pathways? Do you have confidence that you'll be able to do whatever it is you have to do? Okay? I'll give you 1 minute, maybe 2. Go ahead. Could you please ask your partners, what is asking? Ask your partners, what is asking? What is asking? What is asking? This last year, actually, at our university in Japan, there was some teachers who asked to have a workshop on what do you do when students are extremely depressed and seem hopeless and are dropping out of school and not coming anymore and things like that. And so we tried to get together a workshop, and I started asking my students a little bit more closely, you know, who do you do homework with? Who do you study with? And I found out that a lot of students thought that they were supposed to do it all by themselves and never talk to anybody else, only be analyzed by what's inside of their head and what they can get from the book into their head. And it was a very lonely thing. And I flashed back to when I was in 6th grade and I was struggling with math, and all I had was the math book and myself, and there was nobody else around. I just felt so frustrated, you know, because I didn't know how to do it. And later I found out I could go to my older brothers and sisters, I could go to classmates, I could go to teachers, and I could feel more hopeful. I would have some social capital. But it's an amazing thing that a lot of students in universities, high schools, junior high schools, wherever you go, often feel like they still have to do it all by themselves. And so one of my major questions now with my students when I interview them one by one in my classroom is, who do you study with? Who do you do your homework with? And it's amazing how many of them say, oh, I don't do it with anybody. It's all my own. They're afraid of cheating. Okay, I said, no, I want you to do it with other people. And I want you to ask questions, okay? Asking may be a moment's embarrassment. Not asking is a lifelong regret. Ask people to help you. Ask your teachers to help you. It's extremely important. This is actually a kotowaza in Japanese. Kiku wa itoki no haji, kikanu wa isho no haji. It's the same words. But the Japanese sometimes don't follow that. Or maybe it's education, or maybe it's the Western influence on Japan and lots of Asia and education, that we have to measure the individual mind, okay? But more and more we're realizing that the individual mind is a very poor thing. I am so much less when I'm not connected to the internet and not connected to my resources and my friends and everybody else. And even you here nodding at me and smiling at me and giving me eye contact are helping me to co-construct my message, okay? I'm not doing this alone. You're helping me, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah? Excuse me if I'm speaking too fast. I get too enthusiastic sometimes. Okay, so that's why hope is so important to me, okay? And I think it is for all languages, but it's all for all education for all of life, okay? We need to be hopeful. We need to have social capital. We need to have pathways and have the agency thinking to actually take some of those pathways, okay? Another researcher who I think is just phenomenal is Dweck, and some of you may have heard of her. This is number 2 on your handout, and she has written for the last 30 or 40 years about incremental and entity beliefs, and how some people believe that, incremental, it means you're developing, okay? Entity means you either have it or you don't have it. You're good or you're bad. You're intelligent or you're dumb, okay? Before some of you came in, we were juggling, and almost everybody came in here and was throwing juggling balls, and they were really showing me the incremental thing. They were really trying, and the balls would fall, and they would keep on picking them up and trying. Somebody with an entity focus or a belief on entity throws them up one time usually and says, I'm not a ball person, I can't juggle. Okay, I can't do that. That's not me. Okay, that's a state belief. Okay, and some students might do that in language learning also. And some students learn that, they're just not a language learner because of their past and their past teachers. Okay, actually I can remember it's very contextualized. You can be entity and incremental in different areas of your life. For me, piano playing, I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and my 2 older sisters were playing the piano a lot when I was growing up. And I thought, wow, that looks so easy and so much fun. And I went and tried it, and I couldn't do it right away. So I thought, I guess I'm not a piano player. And I hadn't realized at the age of 5 that my sisters had been practicing for 3 or 4 years and learning all this stuff. But I had adopted this entity way of thinking about a piano. And so I stayed away from the piano for a long, long time. Okay? But incrementally, it's the process. It's the ingingness. It's the doing. You're continually learning. Teachers, if they're not learning, chances are that nobody else is learning in their classroom. Okay? So we're always continually learning. Okay? And we need to stay in that incremental mode. All right? What I'd like to ask you to do right now with somebody beside you, could be the same person, is just to think about, you. What areas in your life, perhaps, have you had in the past or now an entity belief? I'm just not that kind of person. I can't do those sports, or I can't do that music, or I can't do that thing. Okay? And where are you more incremental? I know I'm going to make lots of mistakes. I know I'm going to look foolish, but I know I can improve. Okay? So what areas of your life are you like that? Ask your partner. Where are you incremental? On your handout also, there's a brief note about Malcolm Gladwell and Outliers. It's a wonderful book. And he talks about actually, he's investigating, why is it that Asian students in North America seem to be at the top of the pile all the time? And what's so different about them? And he goes back, and his hypothesis is that it's tied to their culture and tied to the Southeast Asian rice culture, where the kotowaza, or the sayings there, they say if you get up 350 days out of the year before dawn, you cannot fail to make your family rich, okay? Meaning if you get up every day before dawn and work, you're going to be rich if you do it incrementally every day. Whereas he compares that to hunting cultures or wheat growing cultures, and he says in those cultures they're saying things like, God willing, you'll be rich. Or if you're lucky, you'll be rich, okay? And it's this entity theory, basically, versus incremental, okay? There's also been lots of studies by Dweck and other people with children, seeing how long they will persist at a task. Given very difficult puzzles, most North American children give up after about 5 minutes. These are 4 and 5 year olds, okay? But already Japanese or Chinese will stay with it until 9 or 10, 12 minutes, 40% longer usually, okay? That they persist. They don't expect that it's going to come so easily. So there's more persistence there. And somehow we need to train ourselves and our students also not to expect immediate results, but to stay at it, and you'll learn. One more metaphor that I find very, very funny. I don't know if it's going to fit here in Hawaii. It's the snowboarding metaphor. I go regularly to Hokkaido and go skiing, and in Switzerland sometimes too. But when you go to a snowboard park and you see a bunch of people trying to learn how to do snowboards, you'll see most of the people just sitting on their bottom and getting wet, and you can see it in their head. They're going, how the hell do I do this? Okay? And they think they can just get up and do it because they see everybody else getting up and do it, but it's just not possible. You got to get up and fall down, get up and fall down, and get up and fall down, and you got to get black and blue. And after a few days of that, the board actually does teach you, okay, and you start snowboarding, okay? But it's incremental, all right? Yes. Okay. The third area that I wanted to look at that's very, very motivational and helpful for hope is imagined ideal and possible selves, near-peer role models, and also belonging to imagined communities. All of this is kind of connected. I know there's a lot of things in there at the same time. Zoltán Dornier, one of my co-authors in one of my books, is extremely prolific writer on ideal selves, okay? And I kind of shy away from the idea of just having an ideal self because it seems too narrow. If it's just one ideal self, I much prefer choice. I like to have possible selves, and I like to have different places I could go with my future, okay? And the literature on possible selves in the psychology area is really nice. And they do studies in America where they actually go to kids in the ghettos and say, what do you want to be when you grow up? What wonderful things could you be? What 5 different possible selves could you imagine? Okay? And getting them to dream and getting them to project. And if you really want to be a pro football player, what do you have to do today to accomplish that? And what do you have to do next week? And what do you have to do next month? And they start realizing, wow, I guess I have to graduate from junior high school, and I have to stay off the street, I have to train more, I have to do this. And it starts becoming more incremental. And there's hope there, and they see pathways, okay? Rather than just going down to the corner and seeing their older brother deal drugs, okay? They'd have other choices. But it takes people to stimulate those choices, okay? And to give hope, to give those pathways, all right? You are not in such dire straits, but what I'd like for you to do is to dream just for a minute or two. And what 3 possible selves, where are you going to be in 5 or 10 years? And dream well, okay, because it's dangerous. I dreamed when I was in 6th grade that I was going to be a university professor because my 6th grade teacher had just graduated from university and come back, and all he talked about in 6th grade was playing tennis in college and having a good time. And I said, wow, that's what I want to do. I want to be a college professor. So be careful about what you dream for. But could you turn to your partners and think, what 3 places could I be? I might stay in Japan for the next 5 or 10 years, I don't know. Or I might go to Korea, or I might come to Hawaii. There's lots of possibilities there. Okay? How about for yourself? Tell your partner 3 possible selves in the future. The next thing on your handout is group agency. And for a long time in the literature, they talked about agency or control as being an individual. Okay? And maybe the isolated cowboy on the range, okay, and the self-made man, which is kind of lonely, very, very lonely. Group agency, you've just been demonstrating it. You've been working with partners, and you've been learning lots of things from your partners. Let me just say that it goes both ways. People criticize group work a lot, and they love it a lot. And there is good and bad. We have that in our sayings, many hands make light work, or 2 heads are better than 1. But then the negative, junin toiro, or too many cooks in the kitchen spoil the broth, that type of thing. So collaboration and teamwork and group work needs some help. It needs some training with our students. They're not going to like it immediately, okay? And we do need to tune them into how to do it a little bit better, okay? I just wanted to give you one quick example of group agency that when this hit me really solid. I was at AAAL, the American Association of Applied Linguistics conference in March in Colorado last year. And it was at this hotel out kind of in this technological village, and there was this little driveway. And I went outside the first day to have my sandwich on this bench because it was in the sunshine, and it was really nice. The spring was coming. But the sun moved amazingly. And after a few minutes, there was shade on the bench, and I got really cold, and so I went inside. Second day, I went out, also with a sandwich, and the bench, amazingly enough, was in the sun again. And so I sat down, and a friend came out and sat down with me, okay? And the sun moved, and we got in the shade, but we were talking, and we were having such a good time. I didn't really want to interrupt it or to go inside. It was nice. I said, why don't we move the bench a little bit forward into the sun? And so we moved it under the sidewalk, okay, and we sat down again. We talked for another 5 or 10 minutes, but the sun kept moving behind the building. And so we moved it into the gutter of the street, okay, and then the sun moved again. And by the end of our conversation, we were in the middle of the street, okay? People were walking by, pointing at us, saying, what are you doing? And the taxi drivers nearby were giggling and pointing at us and things. But we didn't care. We didn't care because we were kind of already a group. We had group agency. You risk more when you're with other people. You risk looking foolish, okay? You risk being mischievous, doing something illegal, being in the middle of the street on a bench, okay? But it was something very, very special to us, and we had a great conversation, and we enjoyed it. And I was just thinking, the day before, I didn't have the agency. I couldn't have picked up the bench by myself, perhaps, and moved it to the middle of the street. I didn't have that. I wasn't brave enough even. But with just one more person, I can do so much more. And that's group agency, okay? And it's extremely important, I think, if we can get our students to learn from each other. They're not going to learn from just the teacher. But God, if they can collaborate more and talk to each other more, they're going to learn so much. The fourth area that I wanted to go over was actually activities that you might do with your students to build social capital and to get them to collaborate even more. One thing I've done more recently is social network maps, and you'll see that at the bottom right side of your handout there. You're not going to do one now, you can do one later, but this is for Tim's Japanese, and part of my family was in Japan before I was born, and they speak a little bit of Japanese, and so there are resources, and my bicycling buddies in Japan, and my work group, and the people at the coffee shop, and these people are all my resources for learning Japanese, okay? And I asked my students, do a social network map, okay, at the beginning of a semester. Then I ask them to do it again halfway through the semester and add to it and see if they're growing in their social capital, okay? And they start realizing, wow, I need to make more friends maybe, or I need to do this, okay? So it makes it more conscious. A collaborative index. As a researcher and a teacher, I've found that I hate writing now all by myself. I much prefer collaborating with other people and doing research with other people. For some reason, in the beginning stages of my academic life, I thought also I had to do it alone. I had to stay alone in the library and put all these books together and then put it all out. But you don't. Don't. It's dangerous even. Please work with other people continually. And I went back and charted my conference presentations and my publications and things, and I was pretty satisfied that I started collaborating with more and more people, and now I have groups of 4 or 5 people in Japan that I present with, okay, and that I can write with, and it's just really, really rich. So you can do a collaborative index for yourself. What I'd like to show you right now is something that some of you may have already seen. This is Taka and Anwar, and I teach students how to shadow, and it's amazing how much shadowing can get students to be more immediate and to build better rapport, okay? So I'm not so much concerned with the language learning here, although that is definitely a thing that's happening, but I just want you to notice Taka's a really nice guy, and he's talking to Anwar, who's on this side. This is in Colorado in 1999, 10 years ago. And Taka has learned shadowing, but his brain is just, he's parallel thinking, he's off somewhere. And you'll see me come beside the video, and I'll kneel down and I'll just say, Taka, shadow. And just notice the difference in his immediacy and his rapport building skills. Okay? If I can get this working right, I think it will go.
Deep inside. Oh, how are you doing? It is raining, cats and dog. It is cold outside. My sunshine is deep inside. Yeah.
Tell me your story.
Please tell me about your mistake story.
My mistake, I came here with my father and my uncle. My first times I came to the United States. Then when I lived in host family.
Oh yeah, your family?
Yeah, my host family.
Your host family.
Yeah, they give me a ride. He give me a ride to school every day.
Oh, every day.
One time when he arrived me to school, I told him. Okay, I will come in by myself.
Oh, you are safe?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I took the bus. Then after I finished that day, I finished the school. Then I took the bus, the first bus, correct. When I
first bus is correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Translate another second bus. It was the wrong bus.
Oh, second bus is a long bus.
Yeah, it was wrong. Then when I looked around, it was surprised for me because the place is changed. Then I told the bus driver, please stop here. That time I couldn't speak anything English. Then he told me, I will arrive you in your address. I told him, no, please stop here.
Oh, yeah.
And I leave the bus and I walk probably an hour.
1 hour?
Yeah, walk. Then I arrived to my host family house, and it was hard day to me.
Oh yeah.
How about you?
Me, my mistake was when I worked in Japan.
Japan?
Yeah, I worked in Japanese bar.
Japanese bar?
Yeah. This is a very good bar. So Richmond Richmond came my bar.
The rich man, he came in your bar?
Yeah, my bar.
When you work that
yeah,
day?
I was working there.
Oh, okay.
Then he was very loud, you know.
He speak very loud?
Yes. So I said, please come down, because many people in there.
Yeah.
Very good store, very good bar. So I said, please, come down. So, but he said, you know,
Yeah.
shut up, you know.
Oh, that's not
Yeah,
good.
shut up, and he hit me.
What?
Yes.
He hit you? He hit you?
He hit me. So I don't like these things, you know. So first time I say, okay, just, you know, calm down, because I'm walking there. So I say smile, and I say, just please calm down.
Okay.
But he hit me twice, so I angry, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I hit him.
You hit him, the
Yeah.
rich man?
Yes, rich man.
Yeah.
So he broke nose,
Wow.
but he is this bar boss.
Wow.
He's boss in this bar.
I see.
So I quit this bar.
That's fine.
I had to quit this bar.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
this is
bad.
my mistake.
Wow.
But no mistake. You know.
That's
My-
not your mistake.
Yeah, no my fault. You know. He fault.
Did you find the work after this?
Yes,
Did you find?
I work many. I have many part-time job. I have a many mistake story. Yes.
That's a great.
Yes.
Okay. In addition to the immediacy and the rapport building that shadowing was doing there, what I wanted you also to notice perhaps is the fact that when you can actually explain yourself in a story even, it helps you to understand it much better. He actually changed and he decided, wait a minute, this is not my mistake story. It's not a mistake. It's the other person's mistake. So he has new meaning through explaining it to other people. If we keep everything inside of our head, it's hard to see it out there clearly. But when we have a friend to talk to, we can see it more clearly and we can make meaning of it. Okay? And we can see pathways. All right? Does that make sense? So this is basically what languaging is all about. Meryl Swain's languaging. Getting people to talk a lot and get it out there so you can see it and manipulate it and make meaning out of it. Okay? What I'd like to do with you for the last little activity, just for a few minutes, is to do a languaging activity. Okay? And I'm going to ask you with your partner to read one paragraph out loud and then explain it to your partner. Okay? And then the other partner reads the paragraph out loud and you explain it. On the back of this sheet, you have an article. Okay? So you can stop and talk about it. If it's not clear, explain it to your partners and everything else. One more thing before you start, though. I need to tell you the research behind all of this and why it works. With 4th and 5th grade students, for example, they have a passage where they get one half of a group to read it twice through and they test them on it. And the other group does what you're going to be doing, is languaging. They read one sentence and they explain it to their partner. And they read the next sentence and they explain it. Okay? And they only have time to read it one time through. But they do twice as well on the comprehension test because they're explaining it in their own words. Okay? Making the text yours is extremely important for understanding and making meaning. Okay? So please go ahead with your partners. If you want, we can go 1, 2, 3. Okay? Okay? Or, do you want to be with her? Okay, great. I don't know how far you got through it, but the basic idea is that the verb smile, okay, is much more powerful than a noun. And this is getting into the inging and the incrementalness instead of the state, okay? That ties in also to Hatfield's emotional contagion, okay? If we study how we can get certain emotions contagious in a classroom, we can probably teach better. If we can do a discourse analysis of that, it'd be amazing. It's also very much related to Peter Dowrick's Creating Futures, okay? And that's more of a visual input, but seeing yourself actually doing something is amazing. If you're not familiar with Peter Dowrick's work, please do look at his videos. He's right here on campus. And I have several articles here, actually, from the literature, from the health domain that I got at UH's medical library a few days ago, saying also that hope as a verb is so much more powerful, okay, than no hope. Okay? And they're amazing articles. I need to conclude real quick. Sorry I've kept you so long. Storytelling was the last thing I wanted to tell you about, and basically getting students to write their own stories. I get my students to write their language learning histories and publish them and then pass them out in class. They read each other's histories. And again, it's a meaning-making phenomena, okay? Being able to tell your stories and to question. Did this happen? What happened here? And what does this mean? Okay, and how can I make meaning out of it? And it's another form of languaging, of course. Okay. To conclude, let me just say, hope depends incrementally on developing three things. One is relationships, okay, it's crucial. The other is routines, and the third is revolutions. Thank you very much. If you have questions afterwards, I'll be around.